Okay, let's reconvene, and we are going to start with item 2.2. This is proposed Title V regulation revisions to exclude limited duration funds from the full-time faculty obligation. Vice Chancellor Troy.
Yes, thank you. As you know, Title V regulations require that a district maintain a specified number of full-time faculty. I figure that increases or decreases as the district's funded FTES increase or decrease. In addition, in years when the Board of Governors has determined that there is insufficient funding, this figure, the faculty obligation number, or FON as we commonly call it, is frozen, and the district may meet the obligation by either maintaining its previous year's obligation number or its previous year's percentage of full-time to part-time faculty. Our current interpretation is that when calculating the percentage of full-time faculty, all faculty must be counted regardless of the funding source used to provide for those salaries. Recent passage of a 4-year parcel tax in San Mateo County for support of the community colleges raises some questions that went unforeseen during the development of the regulations in our estimation. While we do not believe that the parcel tax revenues create complications in years for which the BOG determines there is sufficient funding, complications may arise in years in which the Board of Governors determines that there is insufficient funding. That's because that prudent fiscal practice would dictate that you do not use limited duration funds to fund ongoing obligations such as full-time faculty, because there'll be no support for those that obligation once the parcel tax expires. However, absent a change in the regulations, the hiring of part-time faculty to restore or add courses would make it difficult for the district to maintain the prior year full-time to part-time ratio. So for these reasons, we recommend that the board adopt this change to the regs. We think that it will align the regulations to prudent fiscal practice and remove what could be a disincentive for districts to go after approval of local parcel taxes.
Okay. Board member discussion? Member Baca.
You know, I recognize that this is unique, and we're looking here at a 4-year partial tax. And is there a history in other segments where you have that continue beyond 4 years? You know that? I mean, this is.
I think in some K-12 districts, you've seen some districts that have been able to maintain parcel taxes for a number of years, though the amount of that tax may change over time. I believe this is a unique occurrence for community colleges. I don't think there's ever been a parcel tax for that, so we don't really have much history to go on for community colleges.
So it's conceivable that after the 4 years, maybe this gets extended out further?
It's certainly possible.
Given others?
Or it could be renewed at a reduced rate or a higher rate, or all manner of possibilities. Or,
you know, and I guess the concern I have when we start talking about the full-time part-time ratio is that you know, and it's maybe arbitrary in nature in many respects, but there is an interest in having that because, as we all know, if you have full-time faculty, you get you're going to get better results because of the consistency, the availability, all those reasons for having full-time faculty in as great a numbers as you can possibly have. When we introduce something like this, it does challenge that and starts maybe taking it off in a direction. I understand the reasons why we have relaxed that a bit, given the fiscal circumstances that we're faced with. This kind of introduces kind of a different discussion with regard to that. And if this continues beyond a certain time and it catches on that we do this, and I don't know if it may seem unrealistic that we would, but in any case, this is a precedent-setting kind of decision. And if it's truly one time, I I certainly understand the need for that, but if it's something that simply is a renewable thing after a period of time, I think it becomes a greater concern, so.
Well, I
But
guess
but it might, I mean, that's maybe not something you can answer, but to the extent that you have, I appreciate that.
Well, I think we'd suggest that even if you, certainly it's well within the voters of the district, their authority to go ahead and continue taxes or raise them or lower them as they see fit. But if you're doing your budget at the community college district, you can't be assured that in 4 years' time that they will be renewed.
Yeah. Well, I kind of compare it with some of the categorical funding that we've had for 30-plus years. And if we were exempt that, then, it presents problems in terms of the overall goal of trying to maintain as many full-time faculty as we can.
Member Reed.
I'd like to move staff recommendation with the caveat that this be considered a one-time exception and not a policy to follow in the future.
I second.
Let me ask our Executive Vice Chancellor if we can do
Can you
that.
do that?
Are you proposing to change the language of the regulation to so provide, or is that just a comment that you'd like to make? Because there's a difference there. If you're changing the regulation, then we would need to renote or provide an opportunity for additional public hearing, public comment, and so on. But if you simply want to have that as the record to reflect that that's where your desire, that would be different. Are you looking to change the regulation to specifically provide that this be a one-time?
Let me ask this question, Steve. If we wanted, could the board exempt these two community college districts for this specific period of time? I thought it was two.
Well, the board could do that, but would have to. It couldn't do that right now at this point in time. That would be a change to the regulation.
I see. Okay, Member Baca, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to try to understand what the issue would be if we postpone this and actually put that language in here.
I believe that would be a change to the regulation. I don't think the board, as constituted right now, can simply pass a waiver for a district by district. I think, obviously, it's within your purview to change the regulations at any time. But
Well, my
Not a
question
waiver.
is, we couldn't do it today, but if we,
No, there is a procedure by which the board could do it, make a change today, and then the regulation would not become effective until 15 days further on to allow time for public comment. So there is a procedure for that. If the board would like to amend the regulation that way, I would ask that we put this over and allow us to amend it carefully, and we could bring it back to you tomorrow, because we want to make sure that whatever changes we make to the regulation are carefully made. But it would be possible to do it if the board wanted to.
What would your amendment be, Member Reed?
That this be considered a one-time event and not a policy. To take the staff recommendation not to make it part of the 75-25, but just.
So it would be So it would be limited to this particular district and this particular parcel tax.
Correct.
Okay. Well, if the board makes a motion to that effect, then we, and indicates that that's its desire, then we could come back with language to carry that out.
So let me ask, what is the pleasure of the board? Does that sound like a direction we want to go?
Yes.
Yes? So Member Reed has that. Do we need a motion for that, Steve, or can we just pull it over, push it over?
If you just put it over,
Okay.
we'll come back.
Okay, we'll put it over. Very good. Item 2.5, a request for exemption from the 50% law. Oh, did we have, I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what, we actually
I'm
had
sorry,
public comment.
we had
Yeah.
public, oh.
Which one? If they both want to wait till tomorrow. So we had a public comment request by Richard Hansen. from the CCCI.
Sorry to have to come up. I realize you've just made an amendment that will make this a little bit more palatable, but I won't be here tomorrow, so I probably should have my say today. This is better, but I think you need to give some thought to what this exemption means in the long term, because it could possibly come back. And I know you wouldn't like really to do regulation changes that affect only a single district or in a special circumstance. So maybe in the process you think about how this works. And it's frankly not a whole lot of money. It's for faculty, as we said last time, it's really an ideal. You know, we're headed toward a 25% goal, we would hope, or 75% goal that we would hope, but we're not making any progress there. And this would be just another chipping away at that ideal in a relatively small way, but still a significant one for us in a symbolic sense. And one thing I was going to say today is that with all the difficulties that districts are going through, and all the additional work of things like accreditation, the challenges now of going through another budget cutting and rearranging programs. You know, at this point, programs are coming on to the chopping block. That's really what full-time faculty are there for. Part-time faculty, as good as they might be in the classroom, are there really only for the classroom. It's all that other work that full-time faculty do, and it's just much, much harder because we have been slipping further and further behind in that goal. So thanks very much, and I appreciate that you've given it this kind of attention.
Okay, nope.
Carl decided he doesn't.
Oh, he does want to, okay.
Carl Freelander from the Community College Council.
Thank you. I'm not sure I'll be able to be here tomorrow when this comes up, and I do appreciate the amendment. But I just want to make sure that the board members are clear that it's not as though San Mateo District can't hire as many part-time faculty as it wants on a temporary basis with the money from the parcel tax. They can, and it presents no obstacle to their compliance with the full-time obligation number as long as they comply by maintaining their obligation number rather than improving their ratio of full-time to part-time faculty, because it won't matter if the ratio goes down as long as the number is met. They have that option, and I just wanted the board to be aware of that, so I would hope you would still consider rejecting the proposal. And finally, I just wanted you to be aware of some new information which I didn't have at the last board meeting, which is that we represent the full and part-time faculty, California Federation of Teachers, in the San Mateo district, and I have been in communication with our local there, and they wanted me to inform you that their executive board was unanimously opposed to the regulation. They see no need for it for the San Mateo district, even though they're pleased with the passage of the parcel tax and understand that it will be used to hire part-time faculty. Nobody's expecting it to be used to hire full-time faculty. So I want you to have that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 2.5.
Thank you. This item refers to the item commonly known as the 50% law. As you know, the 50% law requires each community college district to spend at least half of its current expenses of education each fiscal year for salaries and benefits of classroom instructors. Compliance with this provision is monitored by the Chancellor's Office and the Board. Districts failing to meet the requirements of the law and who do not file for exemption are required to retire the deficiency. Districts failing to meet the requirements of the law may request exemption if salaries of classroom instructors are higher than comparable districts and/or if compliance would have resulted in serious hardship. Upon receipt of an application for exemption, the Chancellor's Office staff determines whether applicable procedures have been followed. They analyze supporting documentation and data and make recommendations to the Chancellor for presentation to you, the Board. The Board has the responsibility to deny, grant, or grant in part a district's application based on the Chancellor's recommendation after review of all the supporting documentation. Two districts, the Compton Community College District and Mendocino Lake Community College District, did not fully meet the basic requirements of the 50% law during the 2009-10 fiscal year. Pursuant to the process specified in regulation, they've applied for an exemption. Attachment A details the request by the Compton Community College District. After review of their data, we found that they spent only roughly 48.8% of their current expense of education on salaries and classroom instructors, which would leave a deficiency for them of over $329,000. We note that this 2019 was the first year in several years that Compton had to comply with the 50% law. They had legislation that had waived their compliance with that prior to that. In looking over their hardship requests, we can account for about $308,000 in allowable exemptions for hardship claims. Part of that is due to some unanticipated, unbudgeted, and necessary expenditures related to a legal situation, and $230,000 is related to backfilling categorical programs from 2008 and 9. So our recommendation in regard to Compton is to approve the exemption for $308,374,000. That would leave an amount of compliance for the remaining $21,000. The other district in question, and this is in attachment B of your agenda item, is Mendocino Lake. We found that Mendocino expended only 46.3% of their current expenses on salaries of classroom instructors during 2009-10, and that results in a $635,000 deficiency. Of that amount, $415,000 or so was intended to backfill categorical programs, and $220,000 approximately is unanticipated, unbudgeted, necessary expenditures resulting from kind of an odd situation where the district's self-insured health care plan that pays actual costs for employees' health insurance claims went out of business, and the district was not able to get reliable information about their obligations in that regard. And they had a fairly sizable year-over-year increase in those costs that was not anticipated. So we found that rounding to about $220,000 of that claim is a legitimate hardship claim. As such, we would recommend the board grant the one-time exemption of $635,000 to the district as requested.
Member Malamud.
Thank you. I have a question about the Mendocino. Are they still self-insured?
Yes, they are still self-assured. We
Do they
do
have a
Mendocino here.
backup plan in case something like this ever happens again? And did they have a backup plan prior to this happening?
Yes. Yes, Kathy, why don't you?
She's the president.
I'm Kathy Lehner. I'm the superintendent president at Mendocino Lake Community College District, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here to answer questions on your behalf. Yes, we do have a backup plan. This is the first time in our 38-year history, second time in our 38-year history that we have gotten into this position. We do have reserves to cover situations like this in the future. We have reserves set aside for our health care plan. The issue that Dan mentioned about the administrator going out of business in the middle of the year when we had this extensive increase just left us at the end of the year with not having the knowledge of how much we were out of balance and how much the healthcare costs were. We had planned on an 8% increase based upon historical figures. It jumped at 17% that year. And because of the claims not being filed and the administrator not being able to tell us what the numbers were, we didn't find out until after the books were closed in August.
I guess I'm just a little bit confused about something. So I don't know a lot about this. So if the administrator's office closed, did you immediately have another one you could turn everything over to?
Not immediately, but yes, we did turn one over, but we did not even know that they were having all the difficulties they were having.
Okay.
And things were just getting held up. Claims were not being filed. Claims were not, we were not getting information back that they weren't being filed. It happened also with the Unified School District in our community as well. And, we found out through some of the doctors' offices that they were having trouble getting their claims filed.
And I guess the other question is, and you say you have reserves, so I'm a little confused. Why didn't you just use your reserves and just say that's what they're for?
Well, we could have, had it been known in time to do that. But there's also other reasons why we didn't use our reserves. And I do have some information on that if you want. But just briefly, I will say that we have gone through the process at Mendocino College of working with faculty and staff in deciding how we are going to meet our fiscal crisis that's ahead of us, and we had consciously decided to build up those reserves because we know the times that are ahead of us. All of our faculty and staff took a pay cut. Everybody at the college took a pay cut in order to build up those reserves so that we could, shoulder the responsibilities that we've got coming down the pike. So it was a conscious decision. It was a conscious decision not to pay out the money for the amount of categorical backfill. We knew that we were going to be short on the 50% law, but we were informed that that was going to be granted as an exemption for this year because we had not determined yet whether to cut back on our categorical programs. We thought they're important for student success. We wanted to maintain those services. So we knew that we were going to be short some, but we did not anticipate this additional 200 and some thousand because of the health care costs.
So I'm not quite sure, is it just because you closed the books without having all this knowledge?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Larry, you want to address that?
Well, yes.
Could you come up to the microphone, please?
Oh, there's another.
Yes, my name is Larry Perryman. I'm the Vice President for Administrative Services. When you self-fund, you don't know the actual cost until the year ends. And so typically, we would have known around June 30th what our total cost for healthcare was. But because of this particular administrator going out of business, we didn't get those figures until sometime September, actually, the final figures. And so we didn't know how badly things were until then. And so there was no way we could have anticipated that by June 30th or thereafter before we closed the books.
Okay, thank you.
But this would have happened whether they closed their doors or not?
Yes, we would have known in time, but yes.
To spend your reserves?
Yes, and we would have handled it at that time.
And were up until that point, were you getting regularly monthly
Yes.
reports in terms of how you were doing, and you were right on track for what you would have normally expected to spend?
We could tell probably by early spring that claims were coming in higher than normal, but we didn't know until, like I say, August or September what the final tab was. And they closed their books actually as of June 30th, or closed their doors, actually. They went out of business. And so it took some time to get that information from them. But it was very unexpected closing. We didn't know they were going out of business until that.
But it wouldn't have changed the facts. You would have still owned the money. Member Izumi?
Thank you for clarifying. Just a quick question. These are figures that are from the 2009-2010 fiscal year. I was just curious. I mean, how do things stand now?
Well,
Yes, much better.
yeah.
Okay.
We do not anticipate missing this requirement for the current year, 10-11.
But our health costs are much better this year than they were last year. Last year was an aberration. We've had 20-some years of experience with a self-funded program, and it's served us very well. But for some reason, we had some very high medical costs last year. We're a small district. We are looking at other means of insuring other than self-insurance as our workforce ages. But it did catch up on us this year. Very unexpected. But this year, 10-11 is much better. It's within projections.
Member Thomas?
You may have already addressed based on Member Izumi's, but I was going to ask what steps, I thought you said there were steps in place to help have this not happen again in the future. Could you elaborate? briefly, on what you've done in order to not get into this situation again.
Well, absolutely. One of the main things is that we are hiring 4 new full-time faculty that will start next fall, and that will help us tremendously. We've also increased the overload rate for our full-time faculty and the summer pay for our full-time faculty. We're negotiating with the adjunct faculty to also increase their rate. So additional staff and additional rates for all of our faculty. And I did want to add in response to having the reserves that one of the reasons we did not increase the rate at the time, once we learned that we were at a deficit, was because we had just all agreed to this pay cut. And so it didn't make a lot of sense when everybody had agreed to a pay cut to ensure fiscal stability to then turn around and give some of that money that we were saving to part of the employees, the faculty. So the faculty have agreed. I do have my Academic Senate president with me here today. Faculty have agreed that this is how we were going to handle it.
Other members? Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion? Oh, we have public comment. I'm sorry.
Okay. And when you do make a motion for clarity, I suggest 2 motions, 1 for each district.
Okay.
Public comment from Carl Freelander, Community College Council.
Thank you. I just wanted to inform the board, the California Federation of Teachers, also represent the full-time faculty at Mendocino Lake and all faculty full and part-time at the Compton Center. I spoke with the presidents of both of those locals, and they indicated to me that they were in support of the request of their districts for these exemptions. They thought they were reasonable and warranted under the circumstances.
Is there a motion on behalf of the Compton?
Move to approve.
Second.
Made by Member Baca, seconded by Member Barros. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion in support of Mendocino Lake. Member Thomas?
I move to approve the request for exemption for Mendocino Lake.
I second.
Second by Member Haley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's move to Mr. Lanning, update on our Foundation for California Community Colleges.
Nigeria, do you have a password?
Good afternoon, everybody, and it's great to be back. The throng has left, but I hope I'll keep everybody intrigued with what we have to say today. As you all know, we've been working diligently for the past nearly 3 years, actually more than 3 years now, on the endowment campaign that commenced officially and publicly in May of 2008. And of course, took some time before that to negotiate with both the Osher Foundation and the Governor's Office and the Chancellor's Office, all 3 being involved with us in that. To date, I want to give a report on where we are currently, and that is in terms of dollars both raised and submitted, as well as those committed by the districts and colleges throughout the system, and the matching dollars thereby triggered. We are at now $60.1 million in the statewide endowment. And as, of course, is the case going forward to June 30th, we know of other commitments that are out there that are not yet registered in that total, which will, of course, trigger then additional matching dollars from the Osher gift. However, the current hard number is $60.1 million in an endowment that has to date already awarded 2,600 plus scholarships throughout the state of California in the last 2 years to students in need at every one of our colleges statewide. That fund, of course, continues to grow, and this next year will generate in excess of that number in terms of the original number being 1,250 scholarships per year. The first year, last year, it was over 1,400 students receiving scholarships. This fall, we expect it'll be somewhere north of 1,500 students, potentially more than that, who will be awarded scholarships as a result of this fund, which we, of course, hope will continue to grow. Several months ago, we had a presentation down at El Camino College about an event that is geared toward meeting the needs of that scholarship endowment. I want to review that with you in a minute and introduce a couple of folks that are here with me from the foundation. But first, I also want to alert you to another event that is March 23rd. And you'll all be receiving a formal invitation tomorrow morning for that event. And that is the launch of our California Connects program, which is a digital literacy program funded by a federal grant through the stimulus package. And that launch event, which is working with MESA programs at the 33 colleges in our system that operate MESA programs, to provide digital literacy training, software, and hardware to students that do not have access to computers or to broadband technology or to software. We'll be providing both training and resources to that student population in those 33 MESA programs, starting with a public event as part of our next Board of Directors meeting on March 23rd. That'll be held here in the Sacramento area at American River College, and that'll take place at 10 a.m. on March 23rd, and I hope that many or all of you can attend that event. And we're excited about the public implementation of that program, the introduction of it to the colleges that are involved and to the students ultimately. We expect to reach 5,800 students right now that have no access in the homes or in the classrooms to computers or technology, and ultimately to reach out to, through training and resources we're providing to those students and the trainers that we're hiring in the communities, to reach more than 61,000 Californians who currently have no access to, again, in the home technology, broadband access, or computers. So ultimately, the ripple effect of this program will be very substantial, and we expect over the next couple of years the life of this program will take on a life of its own as we see the spread of the technology, the tools and resources, and the equipment that we'll be distributing to these students and their families, and the trainers that we're literally sending not just into the campuses but into the homes. We feel that the impact of this outreach will significantly benefit not just this generation but future generations, of course, as well. So again, March 23rd, that is 1 hour prior to the Board of Directors meeting for the foundation, which occurs at American River College, also beginning at 11 a.m. that same day. So again, tomorrow morning, you will all be delivered invitations to that event. And of course, a press release was issued sometime back that you all have received as well. But if anybody has any questions about that program, please contact me, and we're more than happy to provide you with more detail on it as you need. Circling back to the endowment campaign, and of course, you'll see me get grayer and grayer over the next couple of months. We have until June 30th to meet our goal, and that is to reach that $100 million total goal for the scholarship endowment statewide. I am very excited that a couple of colleges recently have submitted significant investments into that fund from gifts that have landed at local levels that previously had not even been involved in the endowment campaign. They had not been a part of the fundraising efforts prior. So we are continuing to see that spread of the capacity building initiative that this investment by the Osher Foundation was meant to spur, and that is not just raising scholarship dollars, but increasing the capacity of the colleges to attract philanthropic gifts. And I think that we've seen a great evidence of that throughout the system over the last 3 years now. And not just with the individual gifts for the endowment, but also, of course, with the Kresge investment that spurred the capacity building study, and with additional programmatic gifts that have landed at colleges as a result of their hearing about what's happening in our system. Toward that end, and this effort to reach out to the public, we are now planning, as you all know, Hands Across California, which is scheduled for April 17th, 2011, or about five and a half weeks from now. And that is going to occur not in any one place, but throughout the state of California. And as you see on the screen, we're expecting to draw, if we're lucky and if we're successful, knock on wood, 1.5 million people or more in a route that literally will stretch the length of the state in many ways. It will go from Northern California, and a couple of spots in Northern California, all converging in the Bay Area, going south all the way down to San Diego. I want to introduce to my far left Jill Schofield, the Director of Public Relations for the Foundation for California Community Colleges, and to my immediate left, Shiloh London, the Executive Director of Business Development for the Foundation, and also the Project Director for this event. And what I'd like to do, and you've already seen some of the information certainly that we'll talk about, so I'll go through that part quickly, but I wanted to bring all of you up to date on where we are today versus where we are, I believe it was some 4 months ago now when we visited at El Camino College, and we had an idea that you all got excited about. And I think we all thought, is this something we could really do? And for those of you who are part of Hands Across America, I know Member Baca and others here were, you know that this is something that can be done. And in fact, it's something that needs to be done for California, especially for the community colleges. So with that, I want to walk you through where we are today. And we've come an awful long way since mid-November. So I hope you'll be excited by what you see. And then Chancellor Scott, with your permission, we're going to register you online live right here for the event so that everybody here can see how easy it is to do. And also so we can take that off your list of to-do items. And with that, I'm going to walk through, if we can get the computer to respond. There it is. As you know, this spring is the 25th anniversary of Hands Across America, and for the 3 or 4 of you that were in line that day in May of 1986, you know what an event that was, and you see the line literally stretched right down Main Street, USA at Disneyland, as well as through a number of other institutions throughout the country. It went through 17 states from Battery Park to the Queen Mary in Long Beach. We're not being quite that ambitious. We're just talking about the length of the state of California. So in essence, we're doing something that's not quite as impossible as Hands Across America was, and we're also benefiting, of course, from the technology that's available to us today. So on April 17th, we are recreating that event in a way that really has never been contemplated before, and certainly has never been done in California. We actually will have in California more participants than in California existed for Hands Across America. And that is that we will be stretching through many of the 112 colleges in our system in an effort to not only raise funds for the endowment at a time when, of course, we're nearing that expiration date for the challenge gift, but also to raise media awareness of the community colleges and the students that we serve throughout the state in a very, very public spectacle that really we've never had before. And in addition, of course, to create the opportunity for our colleges and their students and faculty to advocate for support, public and private alike, for the community college system in our state. And as you see, of course, we've created a logo and other aspects of this campaign that have already been launched and are online as well as in print. But the basics are very simple. April 17th, 2011, one day, one line. 2 p.m. that day is the convening time for Californians up and down the state. So please plan on convening in your locale as near to your home or place of work as you can. With the actual route is being pieced together, but big chunks of that are already online currently. There are a couple of additional legs that will be published by the end of this week. And literally by March 17th, a month prior to the actual event, there will be an application that one of our corporate partners, Yahoo, is now building that will allow you to literally click on the line and say, I'm going to be here, and then publish that out to all of your friends through Facebook. And at the same time, see through Facebook where all of your friends that are already registered will be in line as well, so that you can join with them or tell them, no, you need to come join me. So with that, we are going to join a single line connecting Northern and Southern California. Right now, the plan is to exceed 1,500 miles in total length, and it will take in excess of 1.5 million people. The calculus here is actually rather simple. We're estimating about 1,000 people per line on an average wingspan of 5.5 feet per person. As you join hands at 5.5 feet per person, you wind up with about 1,000 people per mile. Here's some of the exciting things that have happened since we last met. These are just a few of the endorsements that have already been secured for Hands Across California, including some very, very prominent entertainment and athletes, leaders in communities throughout the state, but also some very prominent alumni of our system. Those of you who watch NCIS and know Mark Harmon may not know that he's a Pierce College alumnus who is very, very fond of his time at Pierce College prior to transferring to UCLA. And actually, he credits his start in athletics as Pierce College quarterback. John Force is a really literally a legend in drag racing, of all things. But he is the most prominent athlete in that sport and has been throughout the history of the sport, a 15-time national champion. He's a Cerritos College alumnus. Others that have been secured, Quincy Jones has of course, a long history working with Hands Across America, originally working with We Are the World. He is on board with this event and has committed his support. In fact, we have an endorsement letter from him that is being taken to talent agents and producers and entertainers up and down the state. And of course, Quincy Jones's word and signature mean an awful lot in that community, and that's been the impetus for some of the other conversations we've had. Suzanne Wong, you may all remember, is the former host of House Hunters on television and has done a number of guest hosting spots. You like that show? Yes. And Suzanne is on board and a ardent, I will say, an ardent supporter of community colleges and the opportunities for students. And you'll all recognize George Lopez. And we had the good fortune of meeting with George Lopez just this last Thursday. We were on set for his show. He has committed his full-blooded, full-hearted support to this event, is a very, very strong believer in providing educational opportunities for students who don't have access otherwise, and is committing not just his own support, but that of his crew, his band, and so on, to get behind this event and become a part of it. He's talking about not just being out in line on April 17th, but doing an event of some sort in line on April 17th to draw a crowd. Also, he plans to appear at a media event that we'll be hosting in Los Angeles in the coming weeks prior to the event, and he's also working with us on a number of other promotional opportunities, including perhaps talking about it with some of the guests that may come on his show in the weeks leading up to April 17th. So we're very excited to have people of this caliber. Others on the list there, Lily Tomlin, you'll all remember, of course, from her decades of amazing work as a stand-up comic and actress. She was a part of the original, in fact, one of the national chairs of the original Hands Across America event. She is on board with this and will be at our media event as well as in line that day. And then we have a couple of younger stars that are just emerging. Courtney Force is John Force's daughter, one of 3 daughters he has, all of whom are in drag racing and all of whom are champions in their respective racing classes. She is an alumnus of Santiago Canyon College and a Cal State Fullerton recent graduate. She transferred there from Santiago Canyon, and she and John Force have just taped a PSA for us, a commercial spot, at their John Force Racing headquarters in Yorba Linda that will be debuting online later this week. And you'll all see that on our website as well as on YouTube and probably on the John Force Racing site as well. So look forward to that. In addition, Christian Kane, who is a country singer and actor and one of the stars of the television show Leverage on TBS, is also on board with this. He, too, is taping a PSA and providing us with additional support, including potentially other members of the cast of that show, which is led by Timothy Hutton. And that show is getting behind this event as well. So with that, we're very excited that we have both some of the prominent alumni in our system starting to step up to support this in ways that literally our system has never asked of them before. And you'll see that the others that we're reaching out to, some very prominent names, everybody on that list below those photographs are alumni of our system. So if you've thought about how do we get Aaron Rodgers involved, the Super Bowl MVP, or Tom Selleck, the star currently of Blue Bloods, formerly of Magnum, of course, Terry Hatcher from Desperate Housewives, it's providing them with a platform and a vehicle that can get their involvement without requiring a whole lot of personal investment of time or resource. This event is that. This gives them the opportunity to put their name on something that's exciting, and at the same time, it gives them the opportunity to reconnect with the college or colleges that they attended. And toward that end, this event is starting to generate that type of buzz and excitement. So we're excited that that is taking place. Mark Harmon, I should mention also, will be taping a commercial spot for us on the set of NCIS in the coming week or two that, again, will be on YouTube, will be on our website, and so forth. The other great development is the corporate partners that are stepping up to get involved with us that have never been a part of our system necessarily before, with some exceptions. You all know the story, the phenomenal story of Southern California Edison. And they were at that event, the Board of Governors event at El Camino College. But prior, of course, they've been recognized as a significant philanthropic organization backing our system. They've now committed $2.2 million to the Osher Endowment over the past 2 years, and have committed other resources to individual colleges and their green technology programs. They were the first corporate sponsor on board with this event, and that was the impetus for this getting off the ground. Since that time, we've had the great fortune of working with Yahoo on a significant partnership. They actually have a team of scientists, engineers and scientists that are building for us an interactive map application, like I mentioned, that you'll be able to click on. They've got the entire route programmed on this interactive map that will be debuting on our site and within a Yahoo portal in about a week. And we're very excited about the interplay that that gives us with Facebook and obviously with Yahoo's customer base as well, which is in the hundreds of millions of eyeballs. AT&T is a significant technology partner of ours, not just for this program, but for others. They will be debuting in the coming days a text-to-give application for us at no cost to us. They've invested the energy and the engineering time to create that application for us, so that as you're standing in line the day of the event or any time from the day it debuts onward, you'll be able to text to a certain number, as you do with Idle Gives Back or with Relief for Haiti, and your donation will go directly to the endowment and will be matched then by the Osher pledge as well. UPS, and we all know UPS is in charge of logistics. That's their moniker, that's their slogan, and that's their mantra. And UPS is assisting us in the creation of the line and literally in providing us with line markers throughout the state of California that will be UPS trucks. And so you will be told where to meet, and when you select where you will be in the route, your meeting spot will be a UPS vehicle. And it'll be very easy to find because you'll see the UPS vehicle parked in a prominent location with a UPS driver there to help you with your location in line and there to help you with the logistics of the line forming that day. And finally, I want to point out Clear Channel Radio, which is a fabulous partner now, and that's thanks really to the Chancellor's office, and in particular to Terry Carbaugh and Paige Marlette-Dorr, who had that relationship previously, certainly through the I Can Afford College campaign. And I Can Afford College is one of our promotional partners as well. The Clear Channel partnership is a very exciting one. They are contributing more than $200,000 worth of radio airtime in the form of commercial spots, 15 and 30-second spots that will be airing in major markets up and down the state of California, starting on March 28th. And continuing right up until April 17th. So if you're listening to any Clear Channel station in California, in the major markets in our state, you're more than likely going to hear a commercial for Hands Across California telling you how to get involved. The other exciting part about that is that the voice on that commercial will be a very, very prominent celebrity. They're working on right now a almost larger-than-life individual right now in today's media world to be the voice on that spot. And we'll be able to announce that, of course, as soon as it's secured. In addition, we just last Friday taped a 30-minute radio segment that Clear Channel will be running as well, starting about the 15th of this month, on their morning talk show formats throughout the state of California as well. That half-hour talk show is all about Hands Across California and the endowment. We feature both in addition to myself, a community college foundation director and a student who is a scholarship recipient and a current student body president at his local college. And we're very excited about that piece airing as well. That'll again appeal to a very different demographic certainly than the mass market commercials will. But these pieces of the puzzle have come together literally in just the last 2 months. That said, we have about 40 days left until the event. I'm all about deadlines. So we've got some exciting things still in store between now and April 17th. One of the things we want to do, though, is to show you how we've put together what this event looks like and what it takes to get involved with it. And the participation and fundraising elements of this are actually relatively simple, and we want to walk you through that right now. Our first goal is to get you to stand in line April 17th. And when I say you, I mean you and everybody you know. Every family member, every colleague, every friend, every neighbor, every coworker. And we want you all to register online to be in the line that day. And we're going to walk you through how to do that with Chancellor Scott as our guinea pig of sorts right now. But in addition, beyond that, we also hope you'll create a fundraising page and ask for pledges just as you would for a marathon or a bike ride or a walk. And you can also join a team, and Charlotte's going to walk you through how to do this right now.
I have a question. I'm not sure where I'm going to be on that day. So do you have the ability to change
Yes.
where you're going to be on that?
Yes.
So you
In
can
fact-
sign up for one place and then change it?
You can, and this registration process collects your zip code. That's a placeholder for you, but you'll be able to use that Yahoo application to literally go on later and click, this is where I really am going to be,
Okay.
and then broadcast it out to your friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our website, handsacrosscalifornia.org. If you haven't had a chance to visit the site, we ask that you do that in the coming days. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, and soon to be on YouTube with our PSAs, as well as LinkedIn. So if you're on the internet, just about anywhere, you can find us. So I ask that you all go out and find us online. And once you're here on our website, and indulge me a bit because this is a bit slow, but you're going to click on the Get Involved part of the header right here. And this will take you to a page that will link you directly to our website, which allows you to register to participate. And it doesn't cost anything to register. It's just as easy as filling out your information and selecting OK. And then you'll be registered online with us. So once you come to this page, you just click Sign Up Now.
This isn't the speediest connection in this room, by the way, just FYI. The site actually moves rather quickly, but the internet connection here is a little bit low band. One of the things I encourage you to look at also on the site while we're loading the page is not just the prominent individuals that are on board, and I should mention Mayor Villaraigosa of Los Angeles is on board. He did an event with us recently to tout his support for this undertaking. He, of course, is an alumnus as well of East Los Angeles College. But also look at the route. The segments of the line that are posted on the site right now are searchable. You can scale in and out. There's satellite imagery, and you can get right down to street level to take a look at what's on there. And again, that is all available on the site today.
When you go online to register, you are directed to a different website, which is firstgiving.com, and it actually will connect you directly to our First Giving fundraising page. So from here, if you've never been here before, you'll obviously be directed to this location, and you'll just say, yes, register online now, and continue. If you've already gone through this process and you click on that link, you can be directed back to your specific fundraising page just with a user account and password, typical of just about anything that you register online for these days. You can register just yourself. You can also register friends and family, as many people as you'd like through this process. But just for the sake of tutorial today, we're going to go ahead and just put one in here, agree to the waiver, and continue. And from this point, Chancellor Scott, we're going to use your email address, if that's okay, to register for you.
Fine. Or you want me to tell you what it is?
How about you let me know if I get it wrong?
All right.
And since the Chancellor is new to this site, he'll leave it on I'm new to this site. And did I get it correct, sir?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And we'll continue. From here, they'll just ask some basic information. Everyone, keep me honest.
Press, you know the zip code.
We happen to share the zip code.
Yeah. Press. Most people don't know the zip code.
Chancellor, you'll have to select a password at this point, and just know that it's not all that private, because everybody that's in the room, as well as everyone watching, will know it. So,
9254. How many words in the password?
I think it must be a minimum of 6 characters.
6 characters.
We can.
How about J. Scott?
That's good.
Okay. And you know, the good thing is if anybody wants to get into your webpage and make a bunch of donations, you're okay with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, he's registering himself, so we're going to go ahead and click continue. And at this point, when you scroll down, to answer the question about if for some reason you put your zip code here today, but you decide on the 17th that you're going to be in LA as opposed to Sacramento or something like that, this is just to give us a sense of where you might be standing in line. But when you register online with the Yahoo portal, that's where you'll actually register and show everybody where you're standing that day. And you can even change that. So you're not technically locked into location. As long as you're somewhere in the line, you're okay.
Okay,
So-
go ahead, 95811.
And then we'll also re-enter our email address to make sure that we're updated. And then here, we have populated all of our community college campuses in this area. You don't have to select a college affiliation. Dr. Scott, you're welcome to if you'd like to at this point, or we can just keep you as I don't have a college affiliation.
Well, you mean you want one in this area?
Well, let me explain a little bit about what this does. Once you create a fundraising page from this place, all of the funds that you raise through your page will be designated back to the scholarship endowment for that campus. So be mindful of which one you choose. If you decide not to choose and you just want it to go to the general fund so that it can be divvied up among many of the colleges, that's great too. Or you can select a specific college.
Better to go with the general fund. I want all the community colleges to think I love them.
Good
We
answer.
think that's a great idea, sir.
We know you do.
Least Fresno.
So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. And at this point, if the chancellor would like to join a team, and what a team is a team is a group of people, much like a sport team or anything else, that have decided to come together under one umbrella name to fundraise. What you'll see when we click on show all teams is you'll see a number of teams from the different colleges. So the ARC Beavers, Saddleback College, AVC Foundation, you'll see Bakersfield College, Barstow. So all of these teams have been created by the different college campuses, and in many cases by their students who are actively engaged with us in this event. And those scroll
Can you
down.
get to the general fund? Wherever that is?
At this point, and what makes the most sense is if you're just interested in it going to the general fund, that's already been established through registration. Joining a team doesn't necessarily mean the funds roll up into, let me back up a little bit. There could be 50 people on a team. Each one of those 50 people may have a different college that their funds are going to. In most cases, if they're at Yuba College, all of their funds are probably going to Yuba. But in the case of Dr. Scott, we may just not have him join a team, or he could just be a standalone, or if he wishes to join a team, we could always have the chancellor's office create a team and he could join that team as well. So maybe you could ask someone to create a team.
Well, let's
for your
create the chancellor's office as a team,
Okay, let's do that.
so I can pester everybody to give.
We like that idea.
And that's as simple as creating a team, what I just did there. All I did was just add a new team. I typed in the name of the team, and you can get as creative as you'd like or just keep it really simple. And in this case, we kept it pretty simple. And then from this point, we just confirm.
Okay.
So at this point, Dr. Scott will have a couple of different emails in his inbox. One will say, welcome to First Giving. Another one will say, you've created a fundraising page. Another one will say, you've registered for the event. And then the last one will say, you've created your fundraising page. Once he creates a fundraising page, he can go online and customize a fundraising page and send it out to his friends and family, either through Facebook, which I know you're actively involved on, Dr. Scott, or Twitter, whichever account you prefer.
Probably 1,000 friends.
Yeah, easily, right? But you can personalize it. You can add photos. You can link videos when we have the PSAs. on YouTube. You can link those PSAs. So if Dr. Scott is a huge fan of Mark Harmon and NCIS, he can link Mark Harmon's PSA directly back to his fundraising page and use that to promote his fundraising through all of his friends and family. We've pre-populated the fundraising pages with some text that makes it easy for people to send out communications about this event. But again, you'll notice it didn't take us more than a couple minutes to register, and we hope that after you register, you'll then go create a fundraising page, which you can then send out to promote the event, to promote your participation, but most importantly, to raise funds for the scholarship endowment.
This is the way you're going to raise funds, is through the online?
Yes, sir.
That and the texting application as well.
Yeah. Do you, like for instance, do you all ever send out envelopes with these, like, if I wrote the community college presidents the other day, I was thinking, is there any way to tell them, in order to give, say somebody wants to give by check rather than
We have published on the website instructions if you'd like to submit a paper payment.
Okay.
We are accepting those. In fact, we've already received a couple just since that went up. And those funds, of course, go into the endowment for wherever they're designated by the donor as well.
Okay.
In the case of the one that I just got the other day, it was undesignated, so it went to the general unrestricted fund that'll benefit all colleges. So literally now, Dr. Scott, you have a fundraising page created as well as your participation in line secured. You have the ability now to publicize that. Lakrita, I know, has a Facebook page. She can send that out to her Facebook friends on your behalf. And hopefully you can start to generate support. And then ultimately, we would love to see, of course, the Chancellor's Office have a team of participants that all would gather perhaps at the Capitol steps on the day of the event and connect the line from this building to that building and then beyond. And everybody can donate then ultimately to the Chancellor's Office Team Fund, which ultimately, if you raise enough, could result in a named scholarship.
Yeah. What we'd like to do is one of you come to my office and walk me through all this, and we'll do a fundraising letter to all the members of the Chancellor's Office.
Absolutely.
We'll do all that.
Absolutely. And
I
so
want those fundraising experts to come to my office and tell me what to do.
we will make that happen.
A gift at the time.
Paul, I would say the Board of Governors probably would like to create a team.
I think that's a great idea, too.
As well, and I would be willing to give the first donation of that. Secondly, though, following up on the Chancellor's comment, you had a number of corporations up there. You had a number of high-profile individuals you talked at length of. Are you doing any corporate fundraising or fundraising from any of those individuals? Or
We're actually, and it's rather exciting because one of the challenges we've had the last couple, 3 years is getting those major corporate employer bases involved in this campaign. Generally speaking, the major corporate foundations or corporate employers tend not to invest in endowments. However, what they are expressing interest in and great lengths of interest in now is encouraging their employees as a public service, as a community service tool to get involved in this event, to donate to the cause. And of course, they are matching gift employers for the most part. So that's the mechanism whereby they see their involvement really taking shape. And that is getting hundreds, if not thousands, of employees in their companies to take part in this event, not just physically, but also with donations that they will match.
Right. So do you have projections on this yet in terms of what you'd like, you think is reasonable to raise?
Well,
vis-a-vis what you're spending to do all this.
What we're spending actually is remarkably minimal compared, of course, to what happened in 1986, which was in 1986 dollars, but also in 1986 technology.
Yeah.
What we're doing today, literally the entire operating budget for this event is just a little over $300,000 for everything. That said, the bulk of that has already been underwritten by corporate sponsorship, and obviously we have a lot of tools in-house. We aren't hiring a marketing and PR firm to create our materials. We have a design.
So you have raised $300,000 to.
In corporate sponsorship, we're at just over $200,000 raised of that $300,000 target.
That's good.
None of that goes toward the scholarship amount. We're not
Right,
taking from the
understand.
scholarship fund to pay those expenses. So ultimately, we're working in both camps. One is to create the corporate backing for the event itself, but also to create the corporate involvement in actively participating in the event itself and encouraging employees, of course, to give back. And many of those employers that we're talking to, of course, employ hundreds and hundreds of community college students as well as alumni.
Member Baca, you had a question?
Well, this is very exciting. You've done a lot of work, and $300,000 is probably a bargain for.
I will tell you that doesn't count our staff time, but yes, hard
It's been
cost.
a lot of work. You reminded me, Lily Tomlin was good friends with Gene Korf, who used to be theater director at Rio Hondo, and I remember seeing her practice there for her one-woman show before she took it on the road.
Wow.
So there's a lot of support there for that cause. I have a couple questions. 1,500 miles coverage. How long was the 1986? Do you know offhand?
It was over 3,000 miles.
Was it over 3,000?
Yeah, coast to coast.
So this is still a significant project, so.
Oh, yes, this is without question a very significant project.
You kind of alluded to it and so forth, but I'm just wondering a little bit more about how involved the students have been in this effort.
Well, and that's the next thing I want to run through quickly, and Jill is here to talk about, is the tasks at hand. And that is engaging the campuses, engaging the community, helping tell the story about the event, and then staging the event itself. And the student involvement is covered in that. So I want to turn it over to Jill to cover the next piece of the puzzle here.
Thank you, and thank you for your time today. As we've been hard at work engaging sponsors and partners and endorsers, we've also been working equally hard to engage our own system and campuses, as it will take all of us to make this a success. Over the last months, we've been working with both the students, faculty, and staff on the campuses to both make them aware of this event and get them involved. And we just recently came off of a couple of webinars where we went through a number of things, a myriad of tasks that we're asking for the local colleges to participate in and to really stage events and spread the word about this in the coming weeks. There are really 4 areas where we're reaching out to colleges to get their engagement on. Of course, getting their local campus and their local community involved are 2 huge steps that we are asking for their assistance on. And to that end, we have selected student assistants who are paid representatives on each of the campuses to really serve as a liaison, to ensure their campus community is aware, to ensure that they're working with both the foundations on the local campuses and the PIO and marketing offices to communicate with the local campus. We've provided a number of resources to make sure that colleges have some tools and materials to use when they're going about this, a number of which are available on the website if you'd like to check them out as well. And we're really just relying on the campuses to, again, make sure those local communities are aware of this. So in addition to engaging the local campus, and again through both working with faculty and staff and those paid student representatives, we're really tapping into them to engage the local community as well. And we're providing a number of resources to help them toward this end, but really relying on them to identify businesses and organizations, community-based and faith-based organizations that should be aware of and involved in this as well. Also, as we approach the final stretch leading up to April 17th, we're preparing for a major media kickoff, which is obviously one of the major goals of this event, in addition to raising funds, is really raising awareness of the need of our students. We're planning a press kickoff here in the next couple of weeks, after which we'll be holding regional events throughout the state and primarily along the route in major markets, where we'll be raising awareness and encouraging participation and just encouraging, raising excitement throughout the state about this. That's another area where we're providing tools and resources and asking for the participation of the local colleges. Again, just reaching out to their media, ensuring their student newspapers and broadcast and radio stations are involved and informed, and really just taking the materials and messaging we're providing and disseminating it out to the local campuses. And then, of course, as we approach April 17th, staging the event is certainly going to be a major task for all of us, and something that will certainly be very exciting. We've heard from a lot of campuses who are already planning pre-event events, if you will, barbecues and concerts on various campuses to raise funds toward their goals for this endowment, and also to spread the message and make sure everyone's aware on their campus and just generally build excitement. So we're very pleased to see the level of engagement and support that we're seeing from the local campuses. I think there's a sense that this is an important event for all of us. Everyone is excited and certainly sees this as both a challenge and a major opportunity at hand. So we've been very excited and encouraged by the input we've received from the campuses, and we'll be continuing in the coming weeks to just ensure they're engaged and have the resources they need to carry this out.
And toward that end, this PowerPoint presentation certainly is available to all of you. We can have Njeri email it out to you or provide printed copies depending on what your preferences are. But are there any questions I can answer this afternoon? I know time is tight, but I wanted to cover as much as possible this afternoon.
No, thank you very much for all the hard work. I would encourage you to link to Member Reed's Facebook page, because his online presence is vast. So any other board member comments?
Well, we hope to see everybody in line on April 17th, obviously, but prior to that, you'll be receiving announcements as press events are planned in your local areas. We'll obviously not only be inviting you, but hope you'll be a part of the program in the local events that we're planning, whether it's in Sacramento or in Los Angeles or in San Diego or in the Bay Area or up and down the Central Valley and Central Coast. We're going to all of those areas. So we hope that you'll be able to participate not just on April 17th, but in the weeks leading up to that, starting now. And if you have any great ideas, contacts, thoughts about what we can do to continue to build the momentum for this event, please contact us and send us emails, give us phone calls, text message me, whatever works.
Right. And if somebody could contact me too about a Board of Governors
Absolutely,
team,
we can set that up for you.
Like that. Member McDonald.
Yeah, I want to know, when will this be up? To count, is it available now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, reason why, because I told you earlier that the Black Chamber newsletter went out to 6,000 people this morning with the Hands Across America in the top right-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if that's available now, so maybe they'll click and go to the website and be able to do this.
Yes. In fact, we have a resources section of the site that has a number of documents, and everything from logos to the postcard and so on are all available for download on the site already, in addition, obviously, to the registration section
like
that
we planned it.
is now live. Yeah.
Any other comments? Thank you very much. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, I think we have one item left before our public forum and new business. Marlene or Vice Chancellor Garcia for our state and federal legislative update.
Good afternoon, Chairman Himmelstein and members of the board. What I'll do today is give you an update on our state legislation, federal update, and then go over some general details about the Advocacy Day tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be able to spend a lot more time on that, but I just want to give you a sense of what to expect tomorrow. So first off, in terms of state legislative update, the deadline for introducing bills was late February, and we've now had a chance to review all the bills, and there certainly are a lot of bills affecting community colleges. Either everyone likes us or they don't like us. Actually, it's interesting how there are a lot of bills that we've seen in the past and reintroduced, but there are also a lot of new concepts that are being pushed forward. Even the obvious focus of the legislature is on the budget, and of course this week is key for that, those deliberations. But even so, those bills have been introduced. Policy committees are going to start next week. Both the Senate Education Committee and the Assembly Higher Ed committees are scheduling their first hearings to hear some of their bills. And I suspect it's going to be a very busy schedule for the remainder of March and April, which is where the first House will hear all the bills before the legislative policy deadline. So it will be busy. Normally, they start hearing bills a little earlier in the session, but given the budget deliberations and all the conference committee activities, the committees are just barely starting. So let me just give you an update on some of the key bills. You have your legislative report. You can see it's lengthier than usual because we tried to provide a summary and describe some of the implications of the various bills that are introduced. And this will be an ongoing process because, as you know, the bill's first introduction changes quite a bit in the process. There are a lot of spot bills in the mix. So what you have is your matrix that provides a comprehensive list of all the bills that have been introduced that relate to community colleges. Then you have your legislative update, which provides our analysis of the bills and the implications for the community colleges. So between those two documents, you'll have plenty of information to review. So in terms of highlighting, let me give you a quick update on your sponsored bills. We have 3 of the sponsored bills are AB 743 one is by Assembly Member Marty Block. This is the Common Assessment Bill. And the second bill is AB 1056 by Assemblymember Fong, and this is the e-transcripts bill. Then we have AB 285 by Assemblymember Furutani. This is the property tax backfill. And then we have another bill, the bill that permits the chancellor to appoint his or her, depending on who the chancellor is at some point in the future, the vice chancellors. And that's a bill that's being carried by Assemblymember Lowenthal, and it's being amended right now, so I didn't put it in the summary, but it is in the matrix.
Assembly member?
I mean, Senator, sorry. Sorry. Senator Lowenthal. And so that's in the matrix, and that is, I'm looking for the bill number. I don't have it on here.
Pages.
I'm looking at the matrix.
I didn't see it over here.
For some reason. I will get, oh, here it is. SB 629, and that's a spot bill currently, and that's going to be amended. So that's an important bill for us, and Senator Lowenthal was very happy to carry this bill for us. I'm not going to go into detail because we've talked a lot about the sponsored bills, but those will be moving through the process. Let me just highlight a couple of other key areas. One is concurrent enrollment. There continues to be significant interest in concurrent enrollment bills. Assemblymember Portantino has a bill, AB 16, that is a little different. It does remove the summer cap that has always been of interest to a variety of individuals, the summer cap on enrollment for high school students wanting to take a community college class. But it also requires that the local governing boards of a community college work with the local community college, or the local school districts work with the local community colleges and establish policies governing concurrent enrollment. It doesn't specify what those policies are. So this is obviously still in the development stage, and we're going to want to watch this. There's another bill that deals with concurrent enrollment, AB 385 by Assemblymember Mitchell, and this bill would actually give new authority to the Chancellor's office to engage in some of the development of policies concerning concurrent enrollment, and that's something we're going to look at. The way it's drafted now, it would be very cost prohibitive for the Chancellor's office to get involved in these activities. So that's something, those two bills are bills we're going to be monitoring carefully. There are 2 bills that deal with distance learning, and for the most part define distance learning as classes where where at least the majority of students are taking the classes online, and that the student and the faculty are at a different location. So the two bills, AB 626 by Assemblymember Blumenfeld establishes the definition, and then AB 851 by Assemblymember Nestandi also establishes virtually the same definition, but adds a lot of reporting requirements. These two bills were probably prompted in large part from the LAO's recent report on distance learning. Two other bills, higher ed accountability. We have AB 2 by Assemblymember Portantino, which is a reintroduction from last year, or actually it's a reintroduction for last year. The bill didn't move forward. But we also have SB 721 by Senator Lowenthal, and this bill is similar, but they're both looking at how to craft and establish this bill to put together meaningful higher ed accountability structure. And I do know that Senator Lowenthal has been in contact with a lot of folks, especially in the philanthropic world, who are looking at the establishment of goals for higher education in California that mirror some of the national trends identifying graduation completion rates as a key priority. So we'll be working closely with those authors and following those developments. Some of you were at many of you were at the breakfast this morning where you heard Assemblymember Block talk about the BA degree. He does have a bill, AB 661, and this would establish a pilot in San Diego to permit a community college to award baccalaureate degrees in some very preliminary form, but obviously an issue that we'll be working with the author and monitoring carefully. We have a couple of workforce development bills that are, again, in the early stages, but I think we're going to want to monitor these carefully because the issues they address relate to some of what we've been attempting to accomplish at the federal level, and that is to establish closer relationships between workforce investment boards at the local level and community college representatives, and to clarify that role. And these two vehicles may be vehicles that we can work with the authors in trying to strengthen the relationship between community college representatives and local WIBs. And that is AB 554 by Assemblymember Atkins, and then SB 698 by Senator Liu. And this is Liu with an E, Ted Liu. Now, I want to point out that we have a significant number of bills that affect DREAM Act students, and just want to point it out, there are a lot of folks who are watching these carefully. One bill, AB 63 by Assemblymember Donnelly, would strike provisions in law providing in-state tuition for AB 540 students, and instead would define veterans as residents even if they're moving in and out of the state. That's one bill. AB 130 by Senate Assemblymember Cedillo. This is the bill that is similar to what he pushed through last year, and it would provide financial aid to AB 540 students when it comes to institutional aid. So this bill would address our BOG fee waiver and extend that to AB 540 students. Then he has a companion bill, AB 131. And Senator Assemblymember Cedillo's bill would extend the same opportunity for Cal Grants and AB 540 students. So he has Cal Grants in one bill and institutional aid in another. And then the last bill in this category is AB 844, and this is introduced by Assemblymember Lara. And this is a bill that would permit an AB 540 student who's participating in student government to get compensated the same as other student government representatives. Where currently, if they're AB 540 students, they can't get state institutional funds. So this would allow them to get that kind of compensation for their service on the student body. And there was a case out at CSU Fresno earlier or last year that raised this issue as a concern. There are several faculty issues that deal with compensation, providing information. One of them is SB 114 by Senator Yee that would provide information on compensation levels for full-time faculty to provide a comparison for part-time faculty. It's currently being amended to reflect what I just described, and it reads a little differently right now in our summary and in the legislation, but that is going to be amended. We also have AB 965, which deals with the 75% law, and that would say in the future if there's growth funding that a campus that has not achieved that 75-25 balance, that growth fundings would be used to move towards the 75% goal. That one will obviously have a lot of interest. And let's see. So I think, in summary, those are some of the key issues. There's one other financing bill that's sponsored by FACT that I want to point out, and this is AB 478 by Assemblymember Hernandez. And this modifies the criteria for the Board of Governors' request to use, it's a very arcane technical part of the formula that allows us to currently use unemployment rate against our growth rate, but it caps that percentage that we can include in our budget request at 2%. This bill would eliminate the 2%, so potentially that could go up higher. So that's another bill. And then lastly, in terms of bills, there are a couple of bills that actually direct you all in particular. One is AB 800 by Assemblymember Huber, and this would require boards and commissioners to submit reports to their chairs on a quarterly basis, identifying what you do in terms of your work on this board or commission, on this particular board. But this would apply to all boards and commissions for the state. And then there is another bill out there that's a spot bill in case you... Yes.
Chair, to what chairs?
To you. So it would be, so your members would provide information to you on a quarterly basis about how they spend time doing work for the Board of Governors, and then you in return would report this to the respective Senate and Assembly policy committees that have jurisdiction over our work.
And rules.
And rules.
Quarterly.
So obviously that one includes some workload, and we'll certainly monitor that, and I'm happy to get your feedback on that particular bill and relay that to the legislators.
Has that member committed to reading those reports?
That's it.
That one is,
That's not in the legislation?
I think
No.
that probably the intent,
Okay.
or did you want to?
Does it have anything to do with the length of the report?
You know, I think that probably there's an interest perhaps in determining what boards and commissions do and having some written documentation about the work of these boards and commissions throughout the state. I suspect a lot of people will raise questions about how productive the exercise will be, and I certainly would like to get your feedback and thoughts, and I can convey to the legislator, Assemblymember Huber, what your thoughts are and the practicality of doing this quarterly reporting.
I think it would be fantastic if, as part of that, we can make recommendations to them about things that we think they should be making bills on, as well as things that they should be doing to make our jobs easier for us. So if it incorporated that into it, it would be very helpful. But to have a bunch of boards, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of boards that are reporting. Who's really going to read it? I mean, is it a good use of people's time, and where's it going to go? And is staff going to have to spend their time on that? Because where are the resources going to come from? Staff, they're already stretched so thin, so.
Any other, Member Thomas?
Yes. Vice Chancellor Garcia, under the matrix that you provided on the first page, there's an AB 334 Lowenthal Community College Board members absence from the state. Could you elaborate on what that might mean?
That's actually a very local district bill in Long Beach. There's a particular individual that needs to be absent for health reasons, and so this is an accommodation because currently if you miss certain number of bills, and I suspect Member Malumed might know more about this.
It's an interesting thing. The trustee was getting medical care outside the state for a particular condition. He was able to be on the telephone for board meetings, but he wasn't able to return for a few months. And in our city, or I guess in the state, the school boards allow that kind of absence, but the community college board of trustees do not. So if you don't show up for a few meetings, you're off the board. So they thought that that was unfair since the school boards already have a system to deal with that. And he showed, he's now back, but he showed that he could still participate as much as he was able to.
Other board member questions? Okay.
Okay. And we'll, obviously, these bills are going to change quite a bit. By your next board meeting, you'll see a lot of changes in many of these proposals. If you're ready, I can shift to federal update. As you know, we had a very productive meeting in Washington, D.C. We went out February 13th through the 16th and participated in the annual Association of Community College Trustees National Legislative Summit. And just prior to arriving in D.C., we learned, of course, that the House took action, or rather, the House leadership proposed some fairly dramatic cuts to the non-discretionary portion of the federal budget, which is only about 16%. And in that 16% part of the budget, they were proposing $66 billion in cuts. They were also at that time getting a lot of pressure to actually cut $100 billion out of that segment of the budget. The other portions of the budget are all protected areas that include the military, Medicaid, and the other, Social Security. So those areas really cannot be touched without major overhaul. So we're talking about the 16%, and there was lots of discussion about whether that should be $100 billion or $66 billion, and eventually the House leadership, the majority party, prevailed and were able to pass the continuing resolution that would have kept government, that would keep government operating to cut $66 billion from this year's budget. So this is still work that they never balanced their budget from last year, and they keep passing these continuing resolutions. So they're still trying to close the budget negotiations on the 2011 budget. So when we got there on Monday, the discussion was on the deep cuts to Pell Grants and other important workforce development programs. So much of our focus immediately was to advocate and try to explain what these proposed cuts would mean to California students. And so with the help of many, certainly Vice Chancellor Linda Michalowski's shop and a lot of others and the League, we were able to put together information that demonstrated the impact of these Pell Grant, proposed Pell Grant cuts to our 418,000 Pell Grant students in California. So basically, the cut was a 15% cut to the maximum grant level, which is $5,550. So that would bring the grant level down to about $4,705. What that would translate into is about $200 million loss in resources to California that our Pell Grant students would not be using it would be lost purchasing power in California. Not to mention the setback it would be to them having a 15% cut in their grant funding. So we had a pretty compelling story to tell, and I think that the timing of talking with both Republican and Democrats was really important. And you step back and you ask yourself, what impact do we have on Congress when we go there? Well, we may not have the ability to turn around and eliminate cuts, but certainly we had such a compelling story, and California being as large and diverse as we are, there was a lot of interest in what impact these cuts would have on us. So I would say that the advocacy on behalf of the board members and the other community college advocates from California was really effective in reinforcing with Democrats who were already predisposed to support the full Pell Grant funding to understand just how devastating these cuts would be. But even with some in the leadership, we had a private meeting with Congressman Kevin McCarthy, and he was very pragmatic about the difficult negotiations that were taking place. So while he could not make any promises, he was certainly able to say, I hear what you're saying. This is a very, very difficult proposal. And what his comments were is that they're in the negotiation. While we were there, the president also released his budget, and his budget continued maintaining Pell Grant funding at the current $5,550 $50 level. And so what he was essentially telling us, there's going to be some serious negotiations once this concurrent resolution gets to the Senate. So as you probably know, the Senate, or the House approved a continuing resolution to extend to 2 weeks the amount of time that the Congress has to negotiate these budget cuts and come up with what they will send to the president. And in that negotiation, however, they reduced the budget by $4 billion. So they took $4 billion already off the table, and they have until March 18th to reach a compromise. Otherwise, the federal government shuts down. When we were there, at that point, the federal government would have shut down on March 4th if they didn't pass another continuing resolution, which they since have. So the discussion is that they don't want to pass any more continuing resolutions, so that they really want to negotiate and have something that both houses can support and pass by March 18th to avert a full federal government shutdown. So very much like California, it's pretty intense in Washington, D.C. But I think that the effort made by all those who made that trip was worthwhile, and we had a chance to talk to, and I won't go over all the names as it was reported earlier, but so many administration officials from U.S. Department of Ed, Department of Labor, and the Department of the Pentagon, and we had several members have private meetings at the Pentagon and met with different officials talking about troops to college and those kinds of important programs that are so key to our community college students. So we had close to 75, 80 California participants, many of whom attended our breakfast on Tuesday morning, where our guest speakers were Secretary of Department of Labor, Hilda Solis, and Assistant Deputy Secretary Frank Chong from U.S. Department of Ed. So it was kind of a welcome home for our key leaders, and I think a really nice visit, and one that it wasn't all that encouraging, but certainly something that we're familiar with, that you have to be heard and you need to continue getting your message out. So my request out to everyone, and you have this in your federal report, the information to continue making those phone calls and encourage your campuses and your constituents, whoever you talk to continue making those phone calls to your members of Congress, particularly if they're a Republican member, and your U.S. senators, and let them know. Even the Democrats need to know that this is so vital, and it's just a core part of what our students need to succeed in completing their education. So I think that the work continues, and we'll keep you posted as we learn more about the final negotiations and what the ultimate budget looks like for Pell Grants and some of the other career technical ed programs. That there have been significant cuts proposed to, say, Carl Perkins, which has been a long-time program, to cut some of the tech prep funding, as well as where's the other one? A couple of other important workforce programs. So we'll keep you posted, and hopefully the outcome is more favorable to our students.
Thank you very much. Board members, questions or comments? Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Appreciate it very much. Now, tonight we are meeting at 5:30, correct?
Correct, at the Esquire. And we have some guests that will be joining us for dinner.
Okay.
And then tomorrow, we have our Advocacy Day, and I just want to let you know, at this point, we have about 51 meetings confirmed, legislative meetings, and we have about 70 participants. On Friday, we sent you the latest list of teams and legislative meetings. A lot of that has been changed. So before you leave today, I have some new packets for you that include your teams. There have been a couple of changes, but I think we've got some really good meetings planned, and of course, this week is key to communicate. And we also have talking points that you'll get tomorrow when we have our briefing at the Capitol. We've changed it this year. Instead of being briefed here, which is a little difficult because of the room setup, we're going over to the Capitol and meeting at noon and having the briefing in room 4203. We're fortunate that the chief budget consultant to Senator Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg will come in, Craig Cornett, and he'll give us his up-to-date briefing on what he knows about the budget negotiations. And then following that, we'll get into our particular messages about budget as well as legislation. And, you know, as part of our legislation for the Board of Governors sponsored package, your legislative package hits on some key themes, and that is we need to make it easier for students, we need to be more efficient, and we need to be able to maximize our resources so that we can plan accordingly and effectively to help students succeed. And that's why we have our common assessment, our e-transcripts, and the property tax backfill. Each of those bills reinforces a key message, the basics of what we need to serve our students best during these difficult times. So that's the tone we'll take as we talk about legislation, and of course a very similar, set of points for our budget. And Dan Troy will go over that with you tomorrow, and I'll talk a little more with you about the legislation.
So Marlene, I know in our schedule it said we were going to start at 11 o'clock. You're saying now it's 12 o'clock.
Well, 11 o'clock, we're hoping that your meeting adjourns close to 11. At that point, what you'll do is you'll break and go into the third floor conference room, pick up your final packets. You will have your packets, so you probably don't have to take that step, but you will pick up your lunch and join with your team so that you can have lunch with your team here in this building. We have room assignments so you can sort of chat with your team about strategy and how you want to approach your meetings, talk about, the meetings you have scheduled. And then about 12:45, I'd head over to the Capitol, and then we'll all meet in the room 4203 so that we can talk about the day's meetings and tips and background information.
Okay. Thank you very much.